Namaskar and good afternoon. Welcome to our live interactive session. I'm your host Neha. You're watching us live on NCERT official YouTube channel. You're also watching us live on PME Vidya channel number 11 and NCERT PME Vidya class 11th. So this session is there for the students of class 11th, and I also would like to welcome the parents and teachers who are watching us live as of now. Well, today we are going to discuss in English a very important lesson. We are going to do a critical reading of the chapter Nani Palkhivala's The Ailing Planet, the Green Movement's Role. And to guide through this discussion, we have with us Professor Nidhi Tiwari from the Department of Education in Languages, NCERT, Delhi. Namaskar, ma'am. Welcome to the session.
Good afternoon, dear viewers. It's a gathering of scholars here, the teachers and the dynamic learners. I would like to welcome you to this session on critical reading of Palkhiwala's The Ailing Planet.
Yes, dear viewers, I also invite you all to be a part of this discussion, and you can reach out to us through our phone number that you can see on your screen. The number is 8800440559. You can also write to us an email. The email ID is also there on the screen, dth.class11th@ciet.nic.in. And apart from these two ways, you can get in touch with us through the NCERT official YouTube channel. You can write to us a message, and don't forget to mention your name and your location as you're sending in your message. Your feedback, your questions, your queries, all are most welcome. So without much delay, let us get into the lesson. And as we begin, I have a question, ma'am. The title of the chapter, The Ailing Planet, it is quite intriguing for me. The author calls the planet Earth as ailing. Is there anything serious that the author is trying to hint at?
Yes, certainly. Actually, ailing itself refers to, sickness, suffering, and planet is the earth. And the earth, which had been so vibrant, so green, so full of resources, is now facing a crisis because man has been exploiting the resources of the planet Earth. We remember times, as per the Indian knowledge system and our tradition, when we were worshipping nature. We have even the concept of the earth as goddess, Prithvi. We have so many prayers in the Rig Veda where we are worshipping nature, Prithvi. We have powerful mantras wherein the goddess earth is addressed. We have the Prithvi Gayatri mantra. Where has that time gone? From worship, the condition of the earth as an ailing planet. This is indeed very serious, and we need to understand this title properly, Neha.
Yes, ma'am.
Because why are we facing this crisis? Okay, in the Indian context, I said we have been treating the earth as a goddess. But if you look at all the tribal communities across the world, we find that nature worship was there.
Right.
I do not know how we have forgotten that. How we are bent upon, thinking about our progress, our needs, development, and we have gradually depleted the resources of the earth and converted the earth into an ailing planet.
Very true, ma'am.
Another thing to understand the title is that the full title is The Ailing Planet, the Green Movement's Role.
Right.
So let us understand the connection between the two parts of the title.
Yes.
The first part is presenting the problem, that is the ailing planet.
Yeah.
The second part is the solution. The green movement, which Palkhivala talks about, is the solution. That is the treatment of the patient.
Correct.
Let's move ahead. Now, can you see there is the mirror and there is the question, can animals see themselves in the mirror? So, what do you think about this, Neha? Have you seen any animal looking at itself in the mirror?
It happens sometimes. I have seen sometimes cats and dogs peeping into the mirror, and they behave quite weirdly. They freak out when they see their own image, reflection in the mirror.
Yes, there is the research which tells us that if animals encounter such a situation, then they don't recognize that it is their own image in the mirror. They
Right.
think that it is some other animal. So, psychologically at times they are even disturbed.
Yes.
That is the reason. Now, why have I begun with this mirror? Because in the lesson, Nani Palkhivala talks about a zoo which is in Lusaka, Zambia, and there is a cage there in this zoo. There is a notice written in the cage which is the world's most dangerous animal. And you would be surprised to know that there is no animal in the cage at all.
Surprising.
Yes, so who could be the most dangerous animal? Can you tell? Okay, could you guess, Neha?
Just a random guess, maybe the author is referring to human beings.
Exactly, it is man. Man is the most dangerous animal because it is man who has exploited the earth. Let us see the picture of this particular zoo. The most dangerous animal, and who is the most dangerous animal? You can see a man looking at himself in the mirror. That is it. And here we have the use of the metaphor.
Right.
The most dangerous animal
Is a
the-
human.
Yes, is a metaphoric use. The
Yes,
literary
ma'am.
device which is
Correct.
used is the metaphor. Even earlier in the title, when we were saying the ailing planet, there was personification.
Yes, absolutely. The earth has been personified here.
Yes. So, how do you capture the interest of the reader when you make use of the literary devices? And we are appreciating literature. So, when we are doing the reading and when we move on from reading to the critical reading, we need to understand, apart from the theme, the style also. The
That's true.
stylistic devices used by the writer to convey his viewpoint also.
Because our viewers are not only the students of English literature, they also need to pay attention to the language part
Exactly, because later if they have to take up any writing task,
of it. Correct.
then they will know how to express impressively also.
Yes, ma'am.
And so at this juncture, we should also notice the literary devices which have been used in the text.
So, right from the title, we have started taking a note of the figures of speech and the literary devices.
Yes.
And throughout the chapter, I believe the author
There
has
are plenty.
employed a lot
There
of
are
them.
plenty. There are plenty, and a few I believe we will be able to
Cover up.
Yes,
Yeah.
not the entire lesson. Now let us know about the author, Nani Palkhivala. So, Nanabhai Nani Ardeshir Palkhivala was born in 1920 in Bombay. Palkhivala cemented his reputation as one of India's most eminent jurists and an expert in economic affairs. He was known for his environmental concerns. He advocated sustainable development. This article which is there before us, it was there in the Indian Express in 1994. So, way back in the 20th century, he had raised concerns over the environment. Let us understand the main ideas in this lesson. First is the green movement's role. Then we move on to holistic and ecological view of the world. Then Earth as a living organism. Next, Earth as a patient in declining health, and most important, the concept of sustainable development. These are the main ideas which we find in this lesson.
And ma'am, this is also an overview of the chapter.
Exactly, exactly.
So, the students have to pay attention to all the points that were just now
Exactly.
displayed
Yes,
on the screen,
yes.
so that they know what exactly they have to prepare in the chapter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, now let us move to the green movement's role. This movement started 25 years ago. 25 years is as per Nani Palkhivala, because the article was written in 1994. So, do not think it is 2025 and the 25 years of the
Correct.
Of our 21st century, right? So, the world's first Green Party was found in New Zealand in 1972. There is a map here before you where green parties hold power. The portion in green on this international map is telling us where the Green Party is in a governing coalition. Different countries are shown here, and Green Party represented in national legislators. It is all shown here on the map here. I would also like to point out that when this lesson begins, Nani Palkhivala starts with the significance of the green movement's role. He doesn't start with the ailing planet, meaning to say, if we read critically, then he is starting with the solution, which is very positive, pointing out the importance of the green movement, and later on as we move into the chapter, he talks about the earth as an ailing planet. So that is something very significant, and we notice how a writer begins the article. So it's very natural for us to think that the writer may start from the first part of the title, which is the ailing planet. He doesn't do that. He begins on a very positive note, and that's a very different way of introducing a particular topic, which I believe the learners should note. Keep in mind, sometimes you may come across stories where the title comes much later and a suspense is built. But here, of course, this is a very critical environmental concern with which Nani Palkhivala is presenting his views. So he starts on a positive note. He doesn't start with the problem of the ailing planet. That is something very significant.
It could also mean that the author, although he is trying to hint at something very serious about the planet, that the planet is sick, it's in a poor state of affairs. Even then the author is quite optimistic about the fact that if we realize today the harm that we have done to the planet, and we we come out of our deep slumber and we do things in favor of the planet, we can still undo the things that we have already done in a negative way.
Certainly, that is his chief concern, because he is showing pathways to treat the patient, which is the earth itself. Right. So it's like that. And another thing which I would like to tell you is that though this article was written in 1994, but even in the 21st century, even while we are sitting here right now, this problem is relevant.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the only thing is that when we talk of critical reading, okay, at this juncture, let me also talk about the difference between normal reading skills and critical reading skills, and why we emphasize on the critical reading. Because to start with, it is just an initial comprehension or understanding when we are developing the reading skills. But remember, it is class 11th. The moment we come at the secondary stage, we have to talk about developing the higher order skills. And at that juncture, critical reading is very significant. And critical reading means that now we are going deeper into the text. We are trying to analyze, we are trying to interpret. If need be, we are also trying to evaluate. So what we mean by critical reading also should be understood. Okay. And it also means that, okay, what is the author's viewpoint? So we also need to look upon that also critically. Is there any bias? Or are we just, accepting everything that the author is telling us? So in class 11th, this is the right time for our learners to, understand first what is there in the lesson, go deeper into it, understand all the stylistic devices used, and at the same time also update oneself, because once a writer has written something and it is an article of the 20th century, so whatever he is talking about, apart from knowing the background, the history, we also need to know what is happening in the present times. So in the context of the green movement also, we need to understand how is the journey of this green movement. Okay, what is happening? Is the earth the problem? Has it been eradicated? There is a big question mark here. Neha, I think you might be interested to, because you once told me that this lesson is familiar to you.
Yes, ma'am, it is very much familiar. I have had the pleasure of teaching this lesson to many of my students. So, and I found it very, very relevant, intriguing, and in terms of language, I loved reading the chapter and discussing the chapter with my learners. So, because you were talking about the title initially, and you mentioned that there is a literary device hidden in the title, are there any other examples in the chapter where the author has personified the planet? Because I remember one example.
Okay, tell me, share with
There
me.
is a point in the chapter, I think it's on the second page of the chapter, where the author calls the planet a living organism.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so that
There
is
are
another
many
example.
Many more.
There are many
Earth
more.
having a vital signs,
Right.
which is again metaphoric, you know.
Correct.
And then it has its metabolic processes, he
Exactly.
says. So all those are signs of personification.
It's a living organism, it's a
Yes.
living creature.
Yes,
So the
exactly.
student should make a list of all these points and areas where
Yes.
the author makes use of personification.
Yes, and actually it is at that juncture that the teacher should do the hand holding.
Correct.
Because maybe the students at that juncture may not be able to understand. Of course, first we have to give them a chance to explore.
Correct.
Let us see whether they are able to understand on their own. Okay, because we are not going to do spoon feeding,
Correct.
right? But if they are not able to, then we can be there for hand holding and
Absolutely.
scaffolding can
And
be
that's
done.
what our teachers do.
Yes, and that is very
Yeah.
much required. Okay, so in the context of the green movement's role, I would like to tell you that though here it is pointed out that it was found in New Zealand in 1972, it is not that it doesn't have a history. Because even in the 19th century with industrialization, there were problems which cropped up. And there were, I mean, even writers, poets talking about the importance of wilderness, greenery. They were trying to influence the, the leaders in different country, and they were trying to tell that there is a need to, keep patches of green conserved. So conservation efforts were being undertaken, and national parks were also found. But because of the two world wars in the 20th century and the economic depression, the early 50 years were disturbed. Okay, those efforts were really, I mean, somewhere they were shadowed. They went into the background. And once after the world wars were over and we moved ahead, then with all the nuclear tests and with all the scientific experimentation, gradually, we started harming the earth. And again, our leaders realized, and it was on 22nd April 1970 that in America we had the Earth Day.
All right.
Yeah. And then, of course, gradually, as we move ahead, we find after this Green Party in New Zealand, where political leadership takes an active interest, in trying to preserve the environment and the conservation efforts. We also find that now we all are celebrating the World Environment Day on June 5th.
You're right.
Right. So, efforts are being undertaken. Many things are happening under the green movement, and we are worried about the pollution from the industries. We are trying the plastic, the dangers of plastic, and we are trying to, come up with the idea of, recycle, reuse.
So there's a lot of sensitization
yes,
has
which is
been
happening.
going on.
Yes, and there are many environmentalists who are working very hard. Many
Right.
steps are being undertaken, and lot of awareness drives even in our education system.
Absolutely. I was about to come to that.
Yes.
That schools also take active participation in making the students sensitized about the use of plastic, that it shouldn't be used much
Yes,
because
exactly.
it is non-biodegradable product.
Yes. And I mean, whatever we can do at our end, not to, spread pollution.
Correct.
That we should be able to do at our
Very
end.
important point to
Yes.
be noted by all of us, that we need to make all those little efforts, the tiny efforts that preserve the planet, help preserve the planet.
Even the, the plastic cups in which we drink tea,
Right.
we can do away with that also.
Correct, ma'am.
And we can prefer carrying, bags made of cloth,
Yeah.
rather than
Any kind of a plastic bag
plastic
or any other fancy bag.
Yes, exactly.
We can use jute, we can use cotton.
Yes, exactly.
That's sustainable fabric.
Yes. So sustainability is our concerned.
I'm carrying a bag today which is made of cloth. So a step towards a sustainable development. By the way, sustainable development is an important topic. We'll be coming to that as well.
Touching upon that.
Yes, yes.
Let us now move on to the other points, holistic and ecological view of the world. So, again the metaphor is before us that earth itself is a living organism. It has its own metabolic needs and vital processes which need to be respected and preserved. The earth's vital signs reveal a patient in declining health. So, this is a holistic view of the world, not in parts. And let me tell you that this view and the efforts of the green movement, you know, are very transformative. It's a very revolutionary process. Palkhivala tells us that when Copernicus came up with the theory of, you know, that the sun is at the center and the earth and the other planets are moving around it, that was a great, you know, transformation and a revolutionary concept in those days. And after that, it is this view, holistic and ecological view of the world, which is an outcome of the green movement, and how, you know, they have tried to tell that the world should be looked upon as a whole. Okay, and so that is significant, not as parts, not as a mechanical inanimate, you know, creature. It's a living creature.
And it's also an indication that the green movement was a great success.
Certainly.
It was able to move people.
Yes, certainly, certainly. But still much remains to be done.
Absolutely, much remains to be done.
Yes, we cannot be satisfied that, yeah, though we have achieved, certain targets have been fulfilled, but nevertheless much remains to be done.
Yeah.
Let's come to sustainable development.
A very important part of the lesson, and let's see what ma'am has to talk about it, and then I'll come up with the question that I have in my mind.
Certainly.
Yes,
so first let's look up at this concept of sustainable development, which was popularized in 1987 by the World Commission on Environment and Development. So what is sustainable development in the very first place? You know, it's an approach which is very significant because it talks about development which fulfills our needs of the present generation, but at the same time it has to sustain the earth. It should not disturb the earth. All the resources which we are using should be made available for our future generation as well. So that is the concept of sustainable development. Now we are also told that 1.4 million living species share the earth with mankind. So it's not just the human beings, it's the animals, it's the plants. And there are so many, even, you know, uncatalogued species about whom we do not know, and they are living on this earth. And if the development is not sustainable, we will be harming them as well. Then coming to the Branch Commission report raised the question, which is, are we to leave our successors a scorched planet of advancing desert, impoverished landscapes and ailing environment? Now this is a very significant question, and once again let me tell you that this is a rhetorical question.
Yes.
So Neha, I wanted to tell you that the device of a rhetorical question, rhetoric means that we use impressive speech, you know, in speaking and in writing. A rhetorical question is not like any other question which really requires an answer. Okay,
right.
It means that you are trying to emphasize a point, and a writer uses it to emphasize, to create an impression. And here I am reminded of our famous bard William Shakespeare, and the very famous speech of Mark Antony in Julius Caesar. After the death of Julius Caesar, you know, he took permission from Brutus to speak on behalf of Julius Caesar in the funeral, ceremony. And there, you know, he cannot say anything against Brutus, and yet he has to balance his speech. And how the rhetorical question is so effective, and how brilliantly Shakespeare has used. Many of you who have read Julius Caesar will remember, and he says that, did this in Caesar seem ambitious? And then he says, yet Brutus says that Caesar was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. So, did this in Caesar seem ambitious is the use of the rhetorical question.
And then the reader, the audience, they keep thinking.
he keeps on repeating this, no? He says that was Caesar ambitious? But Brutus says, okay, so gradually he builds up the public, in favor of Caesar.
Right.
So the use of the rhetorical question is there, where is employed very powerfully by Shakespeare in Julius Caesar, and of course we all cherish the famous speech of Mark Antony. So even here, if we are to look at this question here, the rhetorical question, that are we to leave our successors a scorched planet of advancing desert, impoverished landscapes and ailing environment, then it is not that our answer is we have to give an answer. We know that we don't have to leave our successors a scorched planet of advancing deserts. We can't afford to do that. It's our responsibility, and that is what sustainable development implies. So,
ma'am, can we also say that a rhetorical question gives people food for thought?
Certainly, it gives them all the questions make one reflect.
Absolutely, because it makes their minds work and think what exactly should we say in response to the question.
But many a times a rhetorical question does not expect a reply.
Does not expect an answer.
Expect an answer, but certainly the question is thrown to the audience or to the reader, and definitely it leads to thinking. And gradually, if such questions are built up, then they definitely emphasize and influence, and that is where the success of an orator lies, as I was telling you.
Absolutely,
with Mark Antony.
And I think our viewers should take a note of it, that they can make use of rhetorical questions while preparing their speeches and their debates and other items.
Okay, so now when we are looking at sustainable development and when we are talking about critical reading, so let me share with you something interesting. There are different perspectives here, okay, and people look upon the concept of sustainable development in many ways. So one of the perspectives is that they don't gel well, sustainable and development. So
they sound opposite.
They sound opposite. Development can never be sustainable. That's how they look upon it. And here once again, if we want, then in this very title of sustainable development, we can see to some extent another literary device, which is an oxymoron.
Oxymoron, okay. Yes, I never thought about it.
Yes.
Because I never came across such a discussion.
If both the concepts are contradictory, that's what an oxymoron is.
So development cannot be sustainable.
Yeah,
and if it is sustainable, it can't be a development.
Exactly. That is how, there are critics who talk in that manner. But of course, a majority believe that, the way we develop, we can sustain the earth. And
we need to find ways and methods to do that.
They don't see any contrast. They feel that it gels well and we can move ahead with the concept. And we are having the sustainability development goals. If you look at the UN report on SDGs, and we have the 17 SDGs and we have the 2030 target, okay. So there are many sustainable development goals.
We have a lot of data and research to fall back on.
Yes. Now what as I'm pointing out the information which pertains to our times.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is what our teachers should do. When we are teaching a lesson which belongs to a time period of say 20th century, we have to motivate our learners, we have to involve them in different activities.
True.
So that they take up projects wherein they can, update themselves. Because as I told you that this topic is very relevant. But because he was writing in those times, so whatever information he has provided is there only up till that time. But much has happened after that time.
And our students can continue with the research that is relevant in today's time. They can take inspiration from the chapter that was done, that was written about 20 years ago, and now they can come up with the challenges that we currently are facing.
Yeah. So when we are critically reading, apart from understanding the author and the information, we need to move beyond the lesson. Okay, and we have to update ourselves. Okay. Now let us look at the global economic prospect which Palkhivala talks about. He talks about the 4 biological spheres: fisheries, forests, grasslands and croplands. So he says that fisheries are being exploited because of the need for protein, and also too much overfishing is taking place. In the context of forest, he is telling us that we are losing on our forests. There is so much of deforestation. We need wood for fuel, we need timber, we need for furniture, we need so many raw material from the forest. So the forest is depleted, but he does not give any information on grasslands and croplands. Moving ahead, he talks about the Constitution of India in the Indian context, the Parliament's Estimates Committee. He talks about catastrophic depletion of India's forest, which is losing forests at the rate of 3.7 million acres a year. And under Article 48A, he talks about protection and from the Constitution of India, protection and improvement of environment and safeguarding of forests and wildlife. The state shall endeavour to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forests and wildlife of the country. Article 51A also is here, which talks about fundamental duties. So it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers and wildlife, and to have compassion for living creatures. So once it is duty, then it makes us responsible. He also mentions a 3-year study where he talks about aerial photography and satellites used by United Nations, which warned that the environment has degraded so badly that it is critical. And 88 countries were investigated in the study. Some aerial photography and satellite images are here for you, and it shows you how the earth has become barren, you see. And in the context of this 3-year study, very limited information is given by Palkhivala. The teachers should, nowadays we have Google Earth and Voyager is there, and we have the Voyager stories, and it is a virtual tour of the environment, wherein for experiential learning our learners can be shown the trip to different parts of the earth, how earlier it was more green and how gradually it is becoming barren. So let them experience it, it is required. Growth of the world population. This is a very significant factor which Palkhivala highlights, that, and he says that more children does not mean more workers, it is merely more people without work, and we have to make a choice between control of population and perpetuation of poverty, because if the population shoots up, then obviously the needs will grow, and to fulfill the needs, because there are more consumers, so there will be more production, and more production from the industries is going to create pollution, and then of course there are automobiles, we see there are emissions which are very dangerous, and so the population has a very significant connection with pollution. Okay, so it is a significant factor which Palkhivala mentions. It is an era of responsibility, and there are 2 quotes from the lesson. One is of Edgar Woolard. He says that our transcending concern is survival of the planet, and Woolard is telling that our continued existence as a leading manufacturer requires that we excel in environmental protection performance. So here he is trying to, because he was the manager of a particular industry, so he felt that as a manufacturer we have responsibilities in excelling in environmental performance. We must have the ISO certificate, we should see that there should be less emissions from the factories, we should see that how we manage the waste properly, this is the concern. And Margaret Thatcher's, the lines if we see, they are so significant. She said that no generation has a free hold on this earth, all we have is a life tenancy with a full repairing lease. So she means that we cannot think that we are going to control this planet forever. Okay, we only are living on this earth like a tenant, and just as a tenant has all the responsibilities of even repair, so it is our responsibility to protect our earth. We have to repair the damages which we have caused. So this is a very significant speech from which these lines have been taken by Palkhivala.
And very thought-provoking statements and quotations, ma'am.
Yes, certainly.
We must understand that we are not, we don't have the entire planet for our disposal.
Exactly.
We need to consider ourselves only as tenants, because
Yes.
we'll live our life and we'll pass away.
Exactly.
And our future generations will have to make use of whatever is left behind.
Yes.
So we need to leave something good, something healthy,
Yes, yes,
something that
yes.
is worth cherishing.
Yes, and keeping, your viewpoint in mind, I'm moving on to the last quote from this lesson.
Okay.
It ends with a very significant quote of Lester Brown. We have not inherited this earth from our forefathers. We have borrowed it from our children. And this is, it makes us think, because it is easy to understand that we have inherited the earth from our forefathers, okay. But how do we explain that we have borrowed it from our children? Okay, these lines may be a little baffling and confusing, but if we try to understand it in this way, that our children are inheriting from us. So, just as, in a way we have a right to inherit from our forefathers, they
Correct.
too have a right to inherit from us. And when they are going to inherit from us, then it is like, it is in continuation, their property. And certainly we have to keep them in mind, and we'll have to, in that manner, we will say that we have borrowed it from our children.
And ma'am, we can also understand this statement by Mr. Brown in a way that something that we borrow from somebody, we keep it with a lot of care.
Exactly.
And something that is our own, we use it the way we want.
Yes, exactly.
So something that has been borrowed, it needs to be given back.
Certainly.
So that's how I made my children understand this
I
statement.
really appreciate the way you have picked up the word
In a very
borrowed from
simpler
here.
manner.
Yes, exactly.
But quite impactful.
Certainly, because that is the psychological state, Because if we
Correct.
think it's a permanent property, we are free to use it. But if we
Exactly.
think we have borrowed it, then certainly we care for it.
We
all
have
the
to
more.
be very careful about
Yeah.
it.
Now let us move on to certain activities which the teacher should use to
Sure,
develop the critical reading. So the projects can be undertaken, they can be group discussion and exploring the Google Earth. Already I have covered this point, exploring Google Earth, going to the Google Voyager, taking the students on a virtual tour of the Earth, and making them having an experiential learning, and knowing about the Earth, experiencing it, okay, and so that they can see the condition of the Earth.
And while doing these activities, the children are also being engaged in integrated learning.
Exactly,
They're not only
exactly.
learning English, they're learning science, and they're also
yes,
learning their
yeah,
geography.
because yes, we have the language across the curriculum concept,
Correct.
wherein this topic will be there in the science
True, ma'am.
also,
And
it will
we
be
talk
there
about
even in geography also.
sustainable development in
exactly,
sciences.
Exactly. Economics and geography also have
So
environmental concerns.
they'll be able
and,
to enjoy all the
economy.
subjects at the same time.
Exactly. Moving on, so there is one project, this I have taken from our own NCERT geography textbook. So the teacher have asked the students to make a collage of a forest, and it has been made by the school students. It's there in the geography NCERT textbook. So just as you were saying, it's there in the other subjects, so it's I'm showing you.
So students
there.
can refer to it.
Yes. Then there is another project again from a geography textbook, Read and Ponder. Is global warming a serious issue in today's world? And they have taken cuttings from the newspapers. So in an era of climate change because of global warming, so they can look up newspapers, they can look up magazines, and they can prepare a collage, they can have such kind of projects.
And it's an important activity,
Yes.
keeping in view how students are occupied with the mobile phones and digital
Yes, you
devices
have to,
all the time.
bring them out of the
We have to
mobile,
bring them down.
out of the AI which generates, what you call answers for them.
True.
And
so reading a
they
paper
should,
is something.
let them be involved in projects wherein they collect material and they come up with a poster maybe, or a collage of this kind, or they can make models also. We can have the greenhouse effects, global warming, such kind of models. In science also we have the models.
Yes, ma'am.
And so the interconnection with science and geography and economics can be brought in when a lesson like the Ailing planet and the green movement's role is concerned. Now coming to group discussion, this is very important.
Very important.
At
yes.
this juncture, what could be the topics which we can take from the lessons? First, let me talk about that. That the group discussion can be conducted on the following from the lesson. These are the lines from the lesson. Forests precede mankind, deserts follow. Next is choices between control of population and perpetuation of poverty. Next is no generation has a free hold on this earth. Next is transcending concern is the survival of not just the people but of the planet. Okay. So, there can be many more points in the lesson, which can be, groups can be formed and they can be given these you know, lines, important lines from the lesson, and they can be asked to collect information. So, once they have had the experiential learning through the virtual trip through the Google Earth, then they have made some posters. They can also be asked to, you know, watch videos of environmentalists. I remember Vandana Shiva. She has very important, you know, videos, and if you go to the YouTube, you will easily find, and she has raised concerns on environment. She has a vision for the earth and the kind of, she too calls the earth as a living organism, and she too talks about what can be done and what effort she has put in. So, they are very really motivating you know, videos of Vandana Shiva, and the teacher can show those videos and the learners can also, you know, explore more. So, from there they will also know you know, what are the ideas of the lead environmentalists. So, it will add to their knowledge and it will sensitize them further. So, before moving on to the group discussion, they have to do a lot of work.
Some pre-reading and research is required.
Exactly. Lot of brainstorming is required, lot of collection of material is there. So, if they have made models, if they have made posters, if they have watched such kind of videos, then they can come to the group discussion. And in the group discussion, they have read, they have critically read, and all the integration of all the skills will take place. Because critical reading leads to critical thinking, and it will also promote writing. And in a GD, we find all the 4 skills are integrated. That is listening, speaking, reading and writing, and that is very much required. We have a video here. This is a video of my students of RI Bhopal, my BA 8th semester students of the batch 2018-19, and we had prepared this video in the RI Bhopal studio. Can we play the video?
Hello everyone, my name is Rajni Priya.
Hello everyone, this is Shruti Sharma.
Hello, I am Ms. Damini Parashar.
Hello, I am Ms. Denisha Thakur.
As we all know that we are here to discuss over the topic the ailing planet, the green movement's role, which talks about environment, its concern and solution to environment problems. According to me, the ailing planet refers to the problems that the earth is facing in the contemporary era. What is your opinion about it?
As you know, the word ailing refers to the suffering caused by a particular disease. So the disease which our planet is suffering from is caused by pollution, overpopulation, and at some extent I think developmental activities also. So that is why our planet, the earth, is here referred as the ailing planet.
No, I don't think development causes harm to the environment. They go hand in hand. As per my viewpoint, development is the basic need for survival and environment is the basic need for living. We can think about living peacefully only if we survive. That is, we have to ensure environment safety.
I agree with you, Denisha, but I would like to modify it a bit. It's not just environmental protection, it's sustainable development. Only with the help of sustainable development it is possible to protect the environment.
I agree with you, Damini. As we know, it is the need of the hour. According to me, sustainable development is the judicially use the resources and preserve it for the future generation. Will you please elaborate what do you think about it?
Yes, sure. It is a development that meets the need of the present generation without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs.
So, do you all think that sustainable development is the solution for all the environmental problems?
Yes, but I yet believe that there are no solutions, there are only intelligent choices, and it is in our hands to make these choices wisely.
Damini, you are absolutely right. We have to be wise because these days we are facing too many problems like pollution, overpopulation, deforestation, ozone layer depletion and whatnot. So what according to you people is the necessity of sustainable development?
As per my viewpoint, to have sustainable development, we need to ensure that all the aspects are covered, such as social inclusion, environmental care and economic growth. Otherwise, it is very hard for the people of India to finance their livelihood, as we know that 29.8% of the population is below poverty line.
Yes, I agree with Rajni. As to achieve sustainable development, we need to implement various environmental protection rules, which would lead to high cost of production.
I would like to support your idea with the example of France. France has reduced the greenhouse production or the greenhouse emission through its nuclear energy power program.
Also, even Japan being one of the matured society, it is facing environmental issues and energy constraints. To curb these challenges, it has given a lot of measures. For an example, Toyota pioneered hybrid vehicles, and now it is pioneering fuel cell vehicles and zero electric emission vehicles.
Yes, I agree with you both. Being innovative for sustainable development does lead to the most important competitive strategy for the coming generation.
In that case, even India, being a developing country, has taken some steps in order to protect environment. Like it has adopted that odd-even formula from China in order to control air pollution. Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, Chief Minister of New Delhi, has implemented this idea there. Though it was not a great success, but we can say it was a remarkable step in order to protect environment.
Yes, even I would like to add one more example. Since Ganga being the most, it's the mother river and the longest river in India, serves most of the population in the northern belt of India, and thus in turns get polluted. To reduce the pollution in Ganga, a ministry named Ministry of Water Resource, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation was set up.
Even the history of India is flooded with examples of environmental conservation. And when Shruti talked about deforestation, I would like to refresh you upon the movement, Chipko movement. It began in 1973 in India. Primarily, its focus was to conserve the forest, and later on it became a rallying point for many future environment movements across the world.
Not only the history and geography, but literature also talks about environmental protection and sustainable development. For example, it is the finest quality of William Wordsworth to talk about nature. His work Upon Westminster Bridge talks about London and River Thames in a very beautiful manner.
Have you people heard about the poem Want by Sylvia Sturts?
Yeah.
Yes.
She writes, crystal clear our waters gleamed, fish abandoned rivers steamed, ocean floats sandy white, now littered brown, oh pollution's plight. So here it talks about the limited resources present on earth and their abusive use by us.
Even the topic we are discussing on is a literary work. According to the writer, our earth is a patient in declining health. We need to realize our ethical responsibility for guarding the planet.
Correct. As we talk about sustainable development, we come across the 3 R's, that is reduce, reuse and recycle. But now the concept has been evolved, and now we hear about 7 R's, including the 3 R's, which is reduce, reuse, recycle, repair, respect, reflect and respond.
A revolutionary change has come in the perception of the human beings, bringing a holistic and ecological view of the world.
There has been a shift from the understanding developed by Copernicus to people's belief that our earth is a living organism whose needs must be respected and preserved.
Hence, environment and development can go hand in hand, as in the long run only sustainable development will lead to economic growth. So it's a duty towards the planet to conserve the resources and to leave behind a very good perspective for the society, as well as we should not treat it solely as our property.
So in order to conclude, we can say that it's the high time we should realize that we have not inherited this earth from our forefathers, but we have borrowed it from our children.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So that was a group discussion that you were all watching during the program. I'm hoping that you all have thoroughly enjoyed the discussion on the chapter The Ailing Planet the green movement's role. This chapter is written by Nani Palkhivala, and today in this live interactive session, I, Neha, am discussing this lesson with our expert of the day, Professor Tiwari. So ma'am, your final thoughts on the video.
Certainly. Now coming to this video, as I told you that it is a video of the Regional Institute of Education Bhopal, which is our constituent unit of NCERT, and these were the BA final year students of the 2018-2019 batch, and you've seen the way we can have a group discussion prepared, how we are going to guide our students and how we engage them in the group discussion. So the kind of brainstorming which went into it, the kind of practice sessions which went into it with our students, and because it was recorded in our RI Bhopal studio, so of course practice in the studio also was there before we finally recorded. So even if in your classroom it might not be possible for you to go to a studio maybe, but you can engage your learners in group discussion on different topics that you are teaching, and there are lessons which provide scope for that. Certainly this lesson, as I told you that there were so many lines in the lesson which itself can have a 5 minutes discussion, or you can even have a 10 minutes discussion with 5 or 6 students also, and you can also record it on your mobile. So you can even develop some e-content, you can create your e-content. So group discussion is very essential, because without critical reading, critical thinking, and then moving, it leads to critical towards writing. So without that you cannot develop the full potential of your learners. All the LSRW skills at the level of critical thinking and critical engagement is required at the level of secondary. So in this manner, this video I am sure must have proved useful for you and might motivate you to engage your learners in GDs. Okay, and from guided you can move on to unguided. You can even evaluate them. If you have given them sufficient practice, then you can have GDs wherein you can even under assignment or under evaluation, you can test their skills under unguided. So that will give more confidence to your learners. Now in the context of this lesson, finally when we look at this lesson, I would like to say that it is an era of responsibility in which we are living, and we should try our level best to make our environment green. We should plant trees. Even forest planting schemes are there by the government across the world. But as individuals, we should try to plant trees, keep water for our birds. We can do many things at our individual level, so that we come up with the concept of Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. Okay, so we have to make the world a happy place to live in, and we have to make it a green earth, an earth which we can cherish, nourish, and if we sustain the earth is going to give us back much more, because the bounty of nature is immense. So, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. How beautifully you have summarized it all, and I would like to extend my gratitude and thanks to you for having this session with us. It was so engaging, so thought provoking, and there were so many things that I also got to learn for the first time, and they will always be a part of my memory, and definitely, undoubtedly, all our viewers have thoroughly enjoyed the lesson. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us.
Namaskar.
So dear viewers, today we had this session for the students of class 11th, and we talked about the ailing planet, the green movement's role. This is an important chapter, as you must have paid attention to all the points that were discussed during the session, and now it's finally time for me to wind up the session, and let's take a look at what is next for you in store. And After this session from 3 to 4 p.m. you will be watching a session for class 12th, and the topic will be capacitance for the students of physics, and this would be the next session for all of you, and I am hoping that you will be staying by with us. And here Neha is signing off. Please take care of yourself and always stay tuned to CIT NCERT. Namaskar.